Welcome to Viva la Vulva, the podcast that explores and teaches about the goodness of the vulva. Here is your host, Dr. Kara Quant, an internal medicine doctor and advocate for female sexual health.
Now, with Proud the Lab, are you doing one-on-one sessions? Are you doing group sessions with people with the same type of diagnosis? Are you sending people or referring people to, I don't know, a pelvic floor physical therapist if they have cervical cancer, uterine cancer, or, radiation? Yeah.
We do all the things.
All the
all the
stuff.
things. Yeah. So I do meet with women and partners, one-on-one or two or three on one, if you will. Hey, look, I've had relationships, situationships, and ships that sail the seven seas. I've had it all, so I do have those conversations. Again, our Thirsty Thursdays, every Thursday are group sessions. So if you register and we still have spaces left, it is a group discussion, but we try to make it as safe and as comfortable as possible. You can use an avatar. You don't have to use your name. Your cameras don't have to be on if you don't want to. You don't have to speak or participate if you want to just be there and be able to absorb the information, absorb the community if necessary. One of the other things that I am really dedicated to is working with clinicians, though. I have webinars with clinicians. I have one-on-one conversations with clinicians who, how do I do this? We've never, really focused on sexual health and wellness within our practice. So how do we do it? And I give them 3 tips. Number 1 is start having the conversations now. Start having them with your clinical staff. What does sexual health and wellness mean for you? What do you believe sexual health and wellness means for our patients? And what is it that we need to make sure what is the knowledge that we need to make sure that we have so that we are able to support our patients who may be suffering some type of sexual dysfunction, not just not just during treatment, but simply by nature of having that diagnosis. So start having these conversations now and start having them with your office staff so that it becomes routine in your office before it becomes routine with your patients. It's a situation of kind of trial and error and kind of working out those kinks. Number 1. The second thing is it is so important that you become educated on the multidisciplinary areas that are within your medical or your hospital ecosystem. Occupational therapists, pelvic floor therapists, sex and relationship therapists, whether it's talk therapy, whether you have someone who has lung cancer. If there is someone who's diagnosed with lung cancer, you're probably going to make sure that you incorporate the advice of a pulmonologist, for example, so that they're able to breathe, without exertion and putting themselves in more harm when they are at a point where they can experience sexual intimacy. So making sure that you know what is in your ecosystem so that you are able to apply a multidisciplinary approach to supporting your patients. And the third thing is clinicians and patients, survivors and thrivers all say the same thing at one point, and that is I am uncomfortable having these conversations. I don't know how to have these conversations. But one of the things that I think so many doctors can agree with is that your nursing staff oftentimes have a much closer relationship with your patients than you do because they see them more routinely. They're the ones that they're having the conversations, with on the telephone if something goes wrong. And so I really encourage clinicians to lean into their senior nursing staff to really begin to have these conversations. And I recommend that there be at least one point person in your nursing staff that you provide training, that you provide continuing education, and that they have access to all of the latest and greatest, whether it be technological, whether it be resources such as dilators, whether it be the best type of lubricants, the different type of lubricants, whatever it may be. There needs to be someone that you are willing to invest in to make sure that they have the knowledge that's able to support the entire patient base of your oncological clinic, so that there is rapport that is consistent. And along with that is making sure that there are mechanisms and that there are protocols in place so that you can begin having these conversations with your patients prior to them experiencing many of the types of sexual dysfunction that may occur during their treatment. And I don't tell too many people this, but I haven't told them yet, but there's an equation that we work from, and it's basically that preparation plus symptom mitigation, even when you quantify for the alteration of sensation, can still equal sexual gratification. So if you're preparing your patients for what may occur, you're making sure that you're proactively focusing on the symptom mitigation that oftentimes leads to the sexual dysfunction. And
Yeah.
you also give your patients the information and the agency so that they are motivated, even when they experience either hypersensation or a lack of sensation throughout their treatment and even into survivorship, they're still able to experience some form of sexual gratification. So
Yeah.
if you are able to adhere to that equation, it is much easier to support your patients and they know that you truly care about their holistic well-being.
It's okay. You said so many great things for clinicians that I want to speak on. I did a research study when I was in residency about sexual health, and it was sent out to providers of all different specialties, you know, internal medicine, family medicine, urology, OBGYN. And the consensus was that they did not feel, we as clinicians don't feel comfortable with sometimes bringing up the topic of sex
Mhm.
because it's going to, I don't know, make them feel a certain way, or also our lack of knowledge in medical school and residency on learning about that stuff. I mean, I did not learn what a pelvic floor physical therapist was until residency. Not in medical school. We learned about what physical therapists are in general, but pelvic floor physical therapists, I was like, what is this? It's like a whole new field. There was not a lot of resources or information about the resources given to us. I think
Mhm.
in general, the medical system sometimes likes to shy away from sexuality and sexual health in general. And I remember actually within my residency program doing, I'm internal medicine, but doing a sexual health talk and training for the OBGYN department
Mhm.
because they only get this information like
Yeah.
once in a year. I think that their requirement is maybe like a couple hours, like three
Mhm.
hours within, their whole training.
I think
So it's wild to like
really.
hear the lack of information that is within the medical community. And that is one of the big reasons why I started Viva La Vulva, because I'm like,
Mm.
okay, we hear a lot of information about men's sexual health. I mean,
Yes.
Viagra and Cialis and all of the medicines that are now in chewable tablets. When it comes to women, it's like, well, what pill do we have to
Mhm.
help with all the stuff with desire and orgasm and just wanting to to feel pleasure in my body?
If you throw a cancer diagnosis in there, oh, now you're really done. You
Now
know what
you're
I
really
mean?
not having sex.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
where as men, it's like, oh no, we're going to make sure that you're able to have sex and that you're able to have this pleasure and do this. I mean, everything from penile injections to pumps to pills to everything under the sun. And there are so many women who are like, I have begged my clinician to have these conversations with me. I put it in writing. I've spoken to my nursing staff, and I still have not gotten that support. And I think that that's why Viva la Vulva is so important, because these are the conversations that we need to have on a consistent basis. This does not need to be a taboo subject, because
No.
survival should be the floor. Thriving is the ceiling. And the goal of Proud the Lab is to completely decimate that glass ceiling and go beyond just thriving into joy, pleasure, expectation, exploration, and true immersion into healthy and full bodied intimacy. And sometimes intimacy doesn't look like what it used to look like. But that is why we exist, because my goal as a patient advocate in this space is to move into the area of scholarship so that I am able to build curriculums to go into medical schools, into schools of public health, and be able to provide this education, not just because I need something to do, but because quality of life is just as important as quantity of life. What is the purpose of existing if you are not living?
Yeah. Thanks for joining me today on the Viva la Vulva podcast. I am your host and internal medicine physician, Dr. Kara Quant. If you like this podcast, please let others know and subscribe. Also, if you want to hear more information about what's happening with Viva la Vulva, pop over to our website at vivalavulvala.org and sign up for our newsletter.